Hey guys, it's Drawing Sun. I want to make a video today that's completely different to my last video. I want to talk about Dragoon, and I want to talk about Dragoon because the past week Square Enix has teased a new expansion, Dawntrail. Okay, and there's cause for excitement in that, but there's also been a bit of fear because if you're someone who's been playing this game actively, you'd probably be aware that Dragoon is actually getting reworked by the next expansion, okay? And I've been talking, to people, oh, you're looking forward to the expansion, yeah, yada, yada, yada. But then I'll talk to people I know that play Dragoon, main Dragoon, love Dragoon, and they say to me, holy shit, dude, like, nah, Dragoon's fucked, bro. I'm not looking forward to the expansion. They're butchering the perfect class. This class doesn't need any changes, just a bunch of anxiety in relation to Dragoon in the next expansion, okay? And so I wanted to make this video, not necessarily calm the nerves, but to talk about what they could be doing with Dragoon by next expansion. Whether or not they're justified in doing what I think they could be doing. And whether that should be a cause of concern for Dragoon players, like you and me, okay? So, okay, let's get into it straight away. So, Square Enix announced in early 2022 that Dragoon would be getting a rework. Okay, now it's obviously been more than a year since they've said that, and Dragoon has had updates peppered throughout. So a few notable updates. You can now double weave particular OGCDs, right? You didn't used to be able to double weave Dragonfire and say Spine Shatter, but you now can, because there'll be an animation lock, right? Stardiver still has that animation lock, but that's whatever. This patch, they did two very interesting changes. High jump no longer counts as movements. Okay, and you now basically get a free True North through Dragon Sight, which is 20 seconds. Okay, it's double the duration of a normal True North. Very nice. And just a few other changes, like, there was a change on Life Surge from memory, stuff like that. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because when they announced that they were going to be reworking Dragoon last year, I browsed some forums to see people's comments on it. Square Enix has claimed that Dragoon is a busy class. Okay, so you can kind of start seeing why they're making some of these changes. Give Dragon Sight a True North, so you don't have to worry about pressing True North in your opener every single fucking time. Let you do some double weaving OGCDs, so you don't have to worry about having to do an OGCD every single, in between every single GCD. Like, you get some breathing space, right? You get to just full send and then breathe. But I think a lot of people online, the forums and the posts I read online, have misconstrued why Square Enix are reworking this class. Okay, so when Square Enix said that Dragoon is busy and that's why they're reworking the class, I think a lot of people take that too literally. And a lot of people, they'll say, well, Dragoon's actually not a busy class. Like, I mean, look at my hotbar. I've got less than 3 rows of buttons, okay? It's not a whole lot of buttons. This class is not that busy at all compared to some other classes. And people take that quite literally, and they'll say, well, who knows what the fuck Square Enix is thinking, like, they clearly, they have some concept of busy that's nonsensical. Right, because you'd see people online say, well, Dragoon's not busy out of 2-minute window. Like, Dragoon's fucking chilling when it's not 2 minutes, and even 2 minutes, it's just OGCDs in between GCDs, right? But I think what a lot of players don't understand with what they'll be doing to Dragoon is this skill right here. Okay? It's high jump. Virtually no one that I see online in Reddit or on Square Enix forums that talk about the Dragoon work, literally no one talks about high jump, and I don't get it, right? Because if you play Dragoon, if you're someone that plays this class, you'll probably know that with them reworking this class, they are doing something to life. Whatever they're doing come Dawntrail, I'm expecting a change of high jump and the life system. Alright, so let's talk about life. What could they mean with Dragoon being busy when we think about high jump? Okay, I want to talk about P12 because it's a perfect example. When fights have downtime, so P12 phase 1, when fights have downtime, Dragoon optimization starts becoming a serious question, right? Because you want to, all else being equal, maximize the number of high jumps and mirage dives you do in a fight, right? And you want to do that because there's a lot of potency that's locked behind your life window. Okay, so if you want to maximize your mirage dives to maximize your potency. When fights have downtimes, you need to start thinking about this because you might need to change your rotation. Now in P12, you do not have to high jump the opener. You can high jump the opener if you want, so you're guaranteed to, if you drift high jump by accident in between the pool, during the pool, you'll still be able to get your high jump back just before she runs away for limit cut, and that's okay. But obviously the more optimal, the preferable way of doing things in P12 is, you just do standard true fast, disembowel, lance, dragon sight, chaotic spring, balcony, your skogel, reeling into high jump. That's your opener, right? And the reason why we don't high jump the opener is because if we high jump the opener, that's just 400 potency that's not in buffs, right? Whereas if you high jump immediately after reeling thrust, you've got my 2 minutes are on, my lance charge and dragon sight's on, you've got probably fucking a mug on there too, you have a ninja, right? You get the point, right? You want to maximize potency, so you want to use high jump under 2 minute buffs. If you do that, however, that's fine. So the optimal Dragoon play is to do that. But it means you absolutely cannot afford to drift high jump. Because if you fuck up during the pool and you accidentally misclick a button and you drift high jump, like, you're fucked. You're gonna drop a mirage dive just before she leaves limit cut. You're not gonna get that. You're not gonna be able to fit in another mirage dive before she leaves the limit cut. Okay, and I think that's what they mean when they say that Dragoon is busy. The class is very tight, right? You need to be conscious of your 1 minute and 2 minute sinks, right? Because if you drift at all in this class, fuck, it feels really bad if there's downtime. Like, you could do, for instance, P10. P10 has like literally no downtime, except for the tanks, lol. But P10 doesn't have downtime for the DPS, right? Like, who gives a shit? Like, you could drift. Drift's obviously bad if you want to pass high, but it's not the end of the world, right? Like, if you drift, okay, your fucking orange pink is probably fucked, but that's okay. Like, that's okay. Like, you're still gonna do good damage, right? You're still gonna have your life in 2 minutes. They might be delayed. You might, because you're drifting, like, you won't be perfectly alive in 2 minutes anymore, but that's okay. You're still getting lives in your 2 minutes. You'll probably still get 2 Nastrons within your 2 minutes, right? That's okay. But when you're dealing with fights with a lot of downtime, uptime, like DSR for instance, that is when things get really fascinating with Dragoon, because you start doing a lot of high jump optimization. Okay? Without a doubt, when they say that this class is busy, they're talking about high jump, and like having to, depending on the way a fight is designed, plan out your high jumps. Think about your life windows. When are you going to life? Are you going to delay a life? Are you going to push a life forward? With high, like switching the order of your Skogel and high jump. So you might often you put your Skogel on cooldown, right, before you use a Mirage, but you might switch it around depending on the fight. But depending on fights and the uptime and the downtime, this is why Dragoon can feel busy, because you need to be conscious of your life windows. Okay, and so a lot of people on forums, when they talk about, Dragoon being busy, well, how's Dragoon busy? Like, You just got some OGCDs and shit, big whatever. I don't think they truly understand this class. Okay? Now, if I'm telling a Dragoon player that loves this class and loves optimizing this class and loves skill expression, hey look, they're probably changing high jump. They're probably not going to like those news, right? Because high jump is one of the biggest ways of showing skill expression in Dragoon, if not the biggest. Obviously, you can have phases in a particular fight, so you can double dot, you can cleave with the Skogels and Nastrons and all, and that's awesome. But one of the biggest ways of showing skill expression in this class is high jump and planning out your mirage dives and your life windows. And so the corollary of them touching high jump is, well, should Dragoon players that care about skill expression be concerned? Okay, let's talk about why I'd want to talk. Before we answer the question, let's talk about why I'd want to change high jump. High jump effectively locks Dragoon into 30-second intervals. Okay, so long as you think of the class in 30-second intervals, you need to maximize your potency around that fact. And if you're a Square Enix developer that's making fights and you want downtime, uptime phases, you need to be conscious of this, right? Like, I can tell you right now, if you're a Square Enix developer and you want to have a fight, and let's say this fight has, you have a fight and you're in a particular phase, and the uptime of the fight is 25 seconds, that's 5 seconds too short for high jump, and like that's something the designer have to think about, right? Oh wait, but maybe for class balance, I'm gonna need to extend the uptime in a particular phase by like 6 seconds to let a high jump mirage go in, right? Or like 32 seconds. That's a problem for Square Enix developers, having to think about classes while you're designing fights. That makes their life harder, right? Because if you're a Square Enix developer, you need to be conscious of how you design fights. Imagine a fight, for instance. Consider this example. Imagine a fight where there's 6 phases, and every single phase has downtime, uptime intervals of 20 seconds, right? Dragoon would be completely fucked because you'd only be getting 1 high jump in every interval. You'll never have an interval of 2 high jumps, right? And you'll be bleeding so much potency because the fight would be designed in such a way where you're just getting no high jumps, right? Like there are just no high jumps to get because it's not possible because of how a fight is designed. And so I think that's why they call this class busy. It's all about high jump. It's all about planning around this one skill. It becomes very busy very quickly. It is satisfying, of course, having played this class a lot, to understand how to optimize your high jumps, when to use your high jumps, stuff like you put up the top Dragoons in XRV analysis, and you actually understand their own planning on like how they plan their high jumps, and you get that, and it's a very satisfying experience to get verification, or just to learn about how to plan as this class. But it all centers around high jump, right? And so they will most likely be changing how life and high jump works in the next expansion. Okay, so should Dragoon players be concerned? Well, look, there are a few things they could do. I want to talk about Reaper real quickly. Right, Reaper could not be any more different from Dragoon. Gauge class, right? Reaper does not give a fuck about downtime, uptime, because every 2.5 seconds, you're getting gauge, right? Like, you literally could not give a shit about downtime, uptime. The only thing you'll care about is like, oh, can I fit in a double and shroud before the boss fucks off, or a mech or whatever. But other than that, like, Reaper does not need to worry about downtime at all, right? But Dragoon does. And so when we talk about, well, how could they change Dragoon? They could turn Dragoon into a gauge class. Now, God forbid they do that. Like, every single Dragoon player I know would fucking probably stop playing the class if this class became a gauge class, where just like, it'd almost be like, identical, right? you have a gauge cost for your shroud, you have a gauge cost for your life window, right? So you can do I can already imagine the frustration that Dragoon players will have if we will turn into a gauge class. Okay, but if they're going to change high jump to stop this 30-second interval, whatever they do, Dragoon needs to be able to get life as a resource, based on based on the length of an uptime and not be disadvantaged by it, right? So for instance, if there's an uptime of 45 seconds, you'll be able to do 2 high jumps in a period of 45 seconds on the assumption that when the first second starts, high jumps ready to be used, right? So, you know, they could turn Dragoon into a gauge class. I doubt they'll do it, right? But there is force to argue they could do it, and, you know, should a Dragoon player be scared? Well, why shouldn't you, right? I was also thinking too, they could do what they did with Gunbreaker, and instead of giving us 2 slots for life, they give us 3 slots. You know, you think like cartridges, right? That, however, that change in of itself is useless though, because what's the point of storing lives if you're still constrained by 30 seconds? Okay, so whatever they do to Dragoon will be centered around high jump. I know a play that suggested that Lance Charge they could change Lance Charge so as to give you a life, and that's an interesting idea. Although that would take away the class's skill expression. Okay, and so now the developers, when they rework this class, they'll be balancing between simplicity, complexity, skill expression, and how it plays around a fight. How the class revolves around a fight. Okay, so look, there is much to be concerned for, but I trust they'll find a way to keep the class's skill expression while not making the class so constrained by fight choices from intervals of 30 seconds. Okay? Like, I think you'll still have, God forbid I don't triple cleave this, yeah. Like, you'll still have your triple cleave tech, you know. You'll still have your double dot tech, most likely. But this is all fight dependent, right? Like, you'd be wanting them to make more fights like BJCC, right? Where, like, you know, you can double dot, you can cleave, you know, like you'd want fight designs like that. That's something that's what I want Dragoon players to know, that I don't want them to be so concerned with what they can do to the class, right? And just to have faith in whatever they do, because I do think the class at the moment needs a rework. This is not healthy. It's a cool way of showing skill expression. I had a lot of fun figuring out Dragoon and DSR. You know, I even positively questioned Mer about triple lifing in P3 just to help with the enrage check. But it's not a healthy way of playing this game. It's really not. Like how Dragoon must revolve around the fight and not the other way around. This class can be really, I can see how this class can just be annoying for developers when they're designing fights, right? Because obviously Square Enix, and you might not agree with the philosophy, but Square Enix for sure has a philosophy where, like, you should be able to clear enrages no matter what class your group picks, right? Like, it shouldn't matter if you have a fucking Dragoon or a Reaper in your team. It literally should not matter. That's their philosophy, right? Every class should be balanced, you know, all that, you know, stuff. And if they're going to conform with that philosophy, then Dragoon will have to change, because it's all about high jump. You know, it's all about high jump. And I want Dragoon players to understand that. It's not about the positionals, it's not about how many buttons we press. That's not what they mean when they say we're busy, right? It's all about high jump and Mirage Dive and life windows, okay? So, I'm looking forward to what they do with Dragoon. God forbid they turn us into a resource class, a gauge-based class, excuse me. But whatever they do, you know, we can only wait and see. And so, to my fellow Dragoon players, chin up, should be alright. Hope this video, if you're someone that plays Dragoon, you found some of my insights in this class interesting, and if you do not play Dragoon, well, perhaps I've convinced you to try the class out. Till next time.